Hey, welcome in, everybody. It's Friday once again. Welcome to the Impact Over Attention Show. I am your host, Jake Jordan. I'm the founder of Impact Over Attention. And every week we talk about ways that we can make more impact in our careers and in our community. Instead of getting caught up in the distraction and kind of temptations of chasing attention. It's easy for us to do to get caught up in things. So we're here to talk with cool people every week about how they're trying to focus on impact, and it's no different this week. In fact, the topic is a big one that you hear about a lot of times. Is really focused around time and how do you spend your time, and is it in ways that you feel like are worthwhile and are chasing things that are meaningful for you. And this topic often gets belabored. There's a lot of people that talk about time and how it works and how it's the only thing that we can't spend more than once, and it's our greatest commodity. You hear all sorts of phrases around it, right? But at the end of the day, how you spend your time is what your life looks like. So this week we have a guest that I have known for a while, and she actually does. Oh, we lost her. Looks like she's gonna have to come back. So I'll keep talking until then. Sara Waskow is a friend of mine that I met through Blessed by Networking. Y'all know the fantastic Ann Small over there in the comments, commenting away right now. Through her group, I met Sara, and she is a business broker, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means and some of the things she does. But she has some really good stuff about how when different events happen in your life, like all of us, we have to just reevaluate who it is we want to be and where we want to spend our time, and the types of things that really are meaningful to us. So I'm sure you can relate, because we all have just the same amount of time and a lot of things we want to accomplish and a lot of people we love and want to spend time with. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to bring Sara on the show. And Sara, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Jake. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Well, I am too, because it's funny, you get to know people, but you don't always get to know kind of behind the profile, if you will. You don't always get to hear all the things they've gone through, which is kind of where all the fascinating stuff is. So, cool, Sara, tell everyone a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I'm Sara Waskow, as you mentioned. I am actually not a business broker, but we kind of refer ourselves as a franchise broker. So I specifically work with prospective business owners that might want to explore business ownership, and I help them find a franchise opportunity that aligns with their goals, skills, and financial capabilities.
That's right. My fault. I know what business.
No worries.
So yeah, you help people who might want to get involved in a business find a franchise that would make sense for them.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Cool. So, Sara, you aren't always a franchise person, were you?
I was not. So interestingly, pretty much right out of college, did a short stint with a company that I don't even really reference in terms of when I'm talking about my career. I actually sold life insurance for about 8 months, but then I worked with AT&T for about 10 and a half years. And so I had a stint in corporate America and then left that opportunity to stay home and raise my kids. At the time I left AT&T, I'd had my second child. So I decided I had a calling to be a stay-at-home mom. And so did that for several years and really just kind of did some part-time things where my kids were young to try to stay engaged in business and kind of active and give myself just an opportunity to contribute to the household income as best I could. But when my kids were like in second and eighth grades, I went to a startup and had 6.5 years there. And then from there left and joined FranNet back in 2012. So feel like I've had really kind of a good mix of corporate America, a startup, not being, fully employed in what I would call a career. And my career at that time, my primary focus was raising my family.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because we all kind of walk a different path to get where we're at. You even said at one point, we were talking off air a couple of days ago, that you just worked at Kohl's while the kids were at home just because you wanted something to do. I'm like, you enjoy working. I do
enjoy working. I do enjoy interacting. I enjoy honestly earning, a living and feeling like I contribute to the family. I think I completely respect all those single income families and, the desire for one spouse to be home with kids, because I was that person. So I totally understand. I'm fortunate and blessed that I was able to just do some part-time things on my own to just outside of, what I would consider a career, but just to kind of keep me engaged and to generate a little income where I felt fulfilled in that particular area of my life.
Right. So you made a shift into franchise. Tell us a little bit about what made you even want to look in that direction.
So I've been with the startup for about 6.5 years, and most of my clients were very small, kind of independent business owners. So I heard about their struggles, with all the different hats they were wearing and as a business owner. And honestly, my brother-in-law, this was back in 2012, had been laid off. His company had gone public, and basically they didn't need him anymore. And so they laid him off and kind of distributed his responsibilities among some of the younger and lower paid people outside of what he did to get him public. So he was exploring franchises and kind of got me intrigued with the industry. And I really just felt like it was a nice hybrid because I'd done corporate America and I had done startup. And so the franchise, it was really just kind of a good mix of those two. And so I started doing consulting with the former owner of FranNet of Dallas-Fort Worth, and then he decided to retire, and I purchased the business from him in 2015. But it was I was ready to, kind of get back into the workforce more full-time at that point. My kids were older, and so it was kind of a good opportunity for me to phase into that. I was like a lot of my clients where I was kind of burned out and unfulfilled in what I was doing. And also I didn't get laid off, but I was told by the, owner of the company that he was going to cut my salary in half.
Okay.
So a little demotivator to stay there for half the pay. So I was in a position of, I don't have to do this, but it's kind of funny because my husband said, you're making money, just stick it out, and I think a lot of us kind of tend to have that mindset, but kind of since then, I've really come to realize that we don't have to settle. We really don't have to settle. And I think now, especially with everything kind of that's happened over the years, there's more of a desire for people to really have more control over some of their future career and decisions.
Yeah, for sure. I would say there's a lot of that conversation started back up after COVID with everyone kind of reassessing, do I want to go back to work now full time? Do I want to go back to an office 5 days a week? Some people don't want to do that. But that's not the first time you kind of thought through that, right? So like in 2012 is when you stepped into the FranNet world, correct? Is that right? That was you?
I stepped into FranNet and I lost you for a second, but then you picked back up. I stepped into FranNet in 2012. Yes. Okay. And that was after 6 years with the startup.
Okay.
Correct.
But then the tough stuff started hitting you, right? Because you're a new business owner helping other new business owners. So
Yes.
I'm sure there's no stress involved in that, right?
No, not at all. There's a big learning curve. So I joined in August of 2012. And then in February of 2013, my mom ended up in the hospital. She was in her early 80s. And at the time, my father also had Alzheimer's. So neither one of them, well, we thought my mom was a lot healthier than my dad. And my sister and I had these conversations. Daddy's going to go first. And we honestly didn't know if he would live through that year based on his health. But then in February, my mother ended up in the hospital with AFib, and long story short, did not survive and ended up passing away in April. And then about 27 days later, my dad passed away. So it was a situation. It was hard. It was really, really hard because my sister was carrying a lot of the burden of kind of caring for them because she lived like 5 minutes away, and they were in Dallas. So I wasn't far, but I'll never forget. I mean, this is when all of the construction was going on 635. And so it was time consuming to get over there. And I just was always feeling guilty about not spending enough time, but yet my youngest was 14 at the time. And so he was not driving. So I really felt so torn and pulled between, doing what I wanted and needed to do for my parents, but also, being there for my family at home that needed me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. And anybody who have older parents or whose parents have passed, I think have all kind of gone through some version of that, right?
Yes.
Where we're like, because my parents live out of town. They live out East Texas, hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes away. And, it's like, I know they're getting up there and I should be spending more time with them. And I do. I actually have made over the past year. COVID helped me with that, honestly, because I got to had less obligations to be placed at, right? So it was
and to be honest, I hate saying this, but I was really kind of grateful that we didn't have to deal with COVID with their situation, because with my father having had Alzheimer's, and, I've heard so many people, sharing how difficult it was to not be able to see their parents, and, their parents didn't understand, and some of those things. So it was honestly, to some extent, I felt grateful that they didn't have to be, it's already lonely when you're living in that situation and kind of those circumstances anyway. And it's even harder last year. So
yeah, for sure. Well, so you had your parents pass on in your first year of business. That's rough.
It was hard.
But everything was fantastic after that, right? Straight to the, everything was amazing. No more problems.
Right. No more problems. Well, not quite.
Okay. What happened?
Well, a few years later, that kind of whole situation just took a toll on the whole family. My marriage was, affected, so had to focus on that. And then in 2018, I went just in for my regular mammogram, and got a call back that they wanted me to come back and look again, which I had happen before, so I wasn't too worried about it. But this particular time, the response was a little bit different. And I still remember the radiologist going, well, I'm not really sure. It could, usually I can tell from one of these mammograms that there's something I need to be concerned about. And I'm not really sure. And so I think that, I'm going to go ahead and send you for a biopsy. You can wait, or you can go ahead and go now. I'm thinking, if he's telling me to go for a biopsy, I'm not going to wait.
Right.
I'm going to go. So I went ahead and he also said he thought he had seen something on both sides, but then when he looked again, he really thought it was only on one side. So he wanted to do the biopsy on that side. So I got a call that I did have some cancer found, but it was very small and non-invasive. And so, through going through the whole process, and I still remember the doctor giving me my options. And I was like, well, why would anybody, have a mastectomy if it's, small and non-invasive? So I chose to do a lumpectomy. But of course, when you have had that, then they call you back every 6 months, and you have to do that a mammogram for 5 years every 6 months. You have to do it for 5 years. So I went in again 6 months later and waited and waited and for the results. And they said, oh, we think we see something again. And so went through all that. And this time I got the call that it was a stage 1 invasive. And I forgot to share that I did have an MRI prior to the lumpectomy and it wasn't spotted. Okay. So when I then got that news, I had to have a more in-depth conversation, and long story short, chose a mastectomy. I still had in the back of my mind what the doctor had said, that he thought he saw something on the other side. So I just decided to go ahead and take care of all of it. But at the same time, then I had some problems with my reconstruction. So what was supposed to be just like 1 surgery at that time ended up being 3 between the end of November, middle of November, and the end of December. So it was definitely kind of unexpected. You know, a lot of people will say, well, have you had, this family history or anything like that? And I did not. We did not have any cancer at all in our family. But I will tell you that the doctor has told me that breast cancer does not and is commonly not hereditary. So
didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
depends. There's so many different kinds.
Yeah. It shows up so many different ways. It's okay. So you had gone through, probably it was more than just a month or two of stuff. I mean, how did that affect you after you kind of exited, if you will? Well,
so, after March, so I didn't even remember to tell you that I was also moving at that time. And so I had the lumpectomy in March. We were trying to remodel our house with some minor renovations, but I use the term minor loosely. When they're in there, stuff's torn up. We were sleeping in different bedrooms because, of work they were doing. So my husband and I were shuffling, rooms depending on what room they were trying to work in. I'd lived in my house for 24 years and had done some updates, but needed to do some more to get it ready for sale. So all of that was going on. We moved, and I really just thought, it's behind me. I'm done. We moved into a rent house. We were building a house. So all of that was going on. So then when I got the news again in October, it was kind of like, oh my gosh. So when I look back on that year and everything that happened, to your point, kind of in that 12 months, but interestingly enough, which is still really kind of hard for me to fathom, that was the best year that I had in business.
Wow.
And I think that somehow kind of just taking my mind off of that. And to be honest, a lot of people don't even know I was going through all that. Only people that are closest to me, I know.
Mm-hmm. And I knew you. I think I knew you in that time period.
Probably. Yeah. It was just one of those situations where I worked and processed things better, just kind of suppressing it and focusing on things that I enjoyed and things that were kind of a distraction, and trying to kind of, stay more positive with, looking forward and really taking the focus kind of off of myself at the time. And also I'll just share, and anybody that's been through anything like this, it kind of got to a point where I kind of felt like I was trying to comfort other people, like other people meant well. And I don't mean this bad, but they would be concerned and so forth. And I'd be like, no, I'm okay. It's okay. So honestly, rather than having to explain and go into all the detail, it's much easier to go into all the detail when it's behind you and things are positive. But when you're dealing with that emotion and a lot of that fear, and then to try to explain it to other people, became almost, I hate just saying this, it probably sounds terrible, but it almost just became harder for me. And so just kind of keeping it quiet within, my small, tight circle is kind of how I chose to deal with it. But I know that I missed some opportunities for prayer and some opportunities, for others to help me. And I look back on that kind of in some regret.
That's interesting. So you have, because I'm probably of similar personality to you, that I would rather just focus on something else and stay busy. Which isn't always good, we know, because that can cause some problems long term if you don't deal with the emotions. But but then I like what you said about whether you're a Christian or not, letting other people in is serving other people because they're concerned about you. So you're letting them into your life. So what would you say? lesson wise about that in particular that you felt like you learned in that time period?
I think I missed an opportunity myself to receive, and I think I didn't allow others to maybe love and serve as they might have wanted to. So I think back on a time when someone wanted to give us, I'll never forget this, a bunk bed for our son. And I really wanted to pay them. He was progressing up, in age and ready for a new bed. And I said, I was just pushing to pay them. And a friend of mine said, don't rob them of their joy. If they want to give you this, let them give it to you. So from that point forward, I have kind of kept that in mind and feel like in that situation, I might have robbed some people of some joy, of some things that maybe they wanted to do, but they didn't know that opportunity was there. All my circle was in Keller, and we had moved to Grapevine. I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to have to drive that far. It's not that far, but to bring me food or whatever. We're good. We're fine. It's just the two of us. So I kind of feel like I missed out on some of that.
Right. So self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
It was creeping for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good at, I can handle it. I don't need any help.
Right.
But I think that I missed some love there.
I love that. You're speaking to me too, because I'm very much like that and have learned similar lessons. And so I guess as you roll forward from there, and we're kind of coming to more modern last couple of years, how would you say that has affected the way you look at how you spend your time?
So it has affected me by really focusing on what matters. And I use this a lot in business in terms of life is short. I think that it has really, and I know that's very cliche and people say it all the time, but I feel like, that unexpected blow really out of the blue for me. And then of course with COVID, and so many of the people that I work with in my business are discontent in what they're doing. And I tell people all the time, I don't want you or myself or anybody to wake up and feel like, oh, I'm dreading going to do, this job or this work or whatever it is that I'm doing. So I would just say, and again, I know it's kind of cliche, but take control and make wise choices on, obviously you have to support your family and how you want to spend your time. But I feel like I was very fortunate and blessed that when my kids were younger and I did go back to work, I had flexibility and all the income earning opportunities that I had where I was able to balance all of that.
Yeah. Yep. And Karen, I also agreed. I think with this too, Karen said that missing out on opportunities for others to pour into you during that time, don't rob them of their joy. Which is something I've missed many times as well. So that's good. And
so I've gotten better on that and have shared that with other people, too. And I gave it to somebody, that bunk bed that I was referring to, I gave it to somebody and she was the same way. She wanted to pay me.
So and I was like, you're like, come on, just take it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know where that bunk bed is now. It's kind of funny, but I said, I'm paying it forward. You just pay it forward, and her kids are grown now too. So the bunk bed's probably long gone, but it was a good lesson.
It's like in the seventh house now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and what's funny, a lot. My friend John Hill, you saw here.
Hello, John.
Yeah, he and I had a show last year, and one of the things that John said early on when we started was that the older you get, the more you realize cliches aren't really that cliche.
Yeah,
they're just true when they hit you, and so that's why I think it's so easy for us to skip over this topic, or just kind of pass by and drop a comment or like time is important. Yes. Okay. On with our day. And it doesn't always take this, I don't think, but I think a lot of times it takes something, stealing or robbing your time from you or, ending your time possibly to make you slow down enough to go, maybe I should think this way more often. So do you have anything that you do to get yourself in that place again? Or Is that a routine, or is there anything like that you think about?
No, it probably should be. One thing that, over the last couple of years, I've really tried to do is focus more on self-care. And, I've never enjoyed exercise. It's not something that I have prioritized. And actually had a client open an exercise location only 3 miles from my house. And the good thing about that is that it's appointments. And so I have a set time that I go on Mondays and Fridays. I start and end my week, and he's expecting me there. And I dread it and I hate it while I'm there. But then when I leave, I'm really glad I did it. So I found what I need to make myself exercise. We also got a dog during COVID.
Okay.
Are you hearing feedback? Because I'm hearing feedback.
No, you're good.
Is it clear? Okay. So the dog demands a walk pretty much every day.
Yes.
And so that has also really made me focus on exercise, because we have to get her walked before we can really do anything else. Mm-hmm. So I would just say focusing on self-care and really prioritizing things that you I'm going to say enjoy. I don't necessarily enjoy the exercise, like I said, when I'm doing it, but I know afterwards I'm glad I did it, and I know it's important. So spending time on those types of activities.
Gotcha. And then kind of looping back to where we started here with your business. Tell me something about finding meaning in your work, so that other people can kind of understand why you do what you do.
So the people that I work with are people that oftentimes, not always, it's definitely changed a lot, but a lot of times they're in a kind of a crossroads in their life. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that's pretty, it's a common topic right now is income diversification and creating more than one stream of income. Because I think that last year with COVID, again, people recognize how quickly things can change. And so what I focus on kind of in my business is helping people learn and kind of evaluate, like, do they want to create more streams of income? Do they want to have more control? A lot of people are in a corporate situation and maybe don't see that as a long-term thing, or maybe they've been laid off. So I find meaning in what I'm doing by really helping people make confident decisions about their future and their career. And it's really important that those decisions be educated decisions. And a lot of people don't know how to go about doing that. So that's really why I enjoy my work, and really kind of, I guess, based on my experience and recognizing that nobody's infallible. And while I thought, I was really healthy, I recognized that, there's something going on. And I'm grateful for doctors. I'm grateful for early detection. I'm grateful for no chemo and no radiation. And that's really kind of what I just, I guess, really try to focus on, is the positives that came out of that experience, and recognizing all the blessings that, even though I've had some struggle with reconstruction, that's all really kind of cosmetic, and there could be more dealing with, and a lot of people are dealing with more. So really just kind of trying to focus on the positives and the blessings of everything.
For sure. Gratitude's super important. Well, so you have actually an event coming up that people can kind of see a little bit about what you do and how it works and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I just talked about education and helping people understand opportunities that are out there if they are discontent in what they're doing. And so monthly, we host, and it's actually even becoming more than that now. There's so many great franchisors out there that are looking to expand in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so we host a webinar, a lunch and learn, an educational session. It's 20 to 30 minutes at noon, and it's going to be next Thursday. And we have a franchisor that has a lot of great opportunities, great backing. They're a younger brand, but they're part of a bigger and stronger system with a lot of history and strength and support. And so that will be at noon. The link to register, I see, is there, and it's on Thursday. And so really just use this up as an opportunity to help people understand, if they do want to learn more about franchising, what might be available out there.
Yep, and Ann should have that in the comments for us as well, so that you can just go over there and grab it. And Cool. Well, Ann's in the comments. Sarah, Sarah, I kind of put you two together too, because I met y'all together and y'all work together. So
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing stuff that you don't always like to share.
Thanks. It's life, it's reality, and there's no reason to suppress it or keep it a secret. It has definitely impacted kind of how I run my business and how I see life from this point forward. So happy to share. We do have a question. How I've done it. Okay. Oh, she wants to know how you've done it and wants to let Sarah know that she seems calm.
Yes, I saw that. You seem very calm. Yeah, how do you keep it all together like that?
Oh gosh, I don't always have it all together, but I just again try to focus on the positive and kind of what brings me joy, and again kind of try to suppress some of that other stuff and not think about it.
That's right.
Anyway.
All right, cool. Well, Sarah, thanks for being on the show today. Appreciate it. And if anyone wants to learn more about Sarah, her LinkedIn link is over in the comments there. The link to check out her profile next week is there as well. And we're going to call that done for today and come back next Friday, and we'll have another awesome guest sharing more about impact. And until then, we'll see you guys. Have a great weekend and make sure and focus on impact.
Thanks, Jake.
Bye.